All right, so for today, we're going to be talking about solving systems of equations by elimination. So the elimination method is to add the two equations to eliminate, which means to get rid of. So you're going to add the two equations to get rid of one of the variables. Then you're going to solve for the other variable. So here are the steps, and I'm going to follow these steps on both examples so we really get an idea of what I'm talking about. So it says to line up the variables. Okay, what does that mean? It means the x's and the y's and even the equal signs need to be lined up, okay? Line up the variables. So for this example, we did that already. Decide which variable to eliminate or get rid of. Make the coefficients opposites. What the heck does that mean? Well, this is what that means. We're either going to get rid of the x or we're going to get rid of the y. Now, if sometimes it works where, remember, the coefficients are the numbers in front of the variables. So it's saying that we need to make the numbers in front of the variables opposites. So 1 has to be, for example, 2 and -2. If that were a -2, these would cancel out when we add down, right? Do we see anything like that here? Yes, we have a -3 and a +3. Remember, we need to add down. That's the next step. Number 3 says to add straight down, and then number 4 says to solve. So if we have the coefficients opposites, like, you know what? Let's write some examples here. Maybe like example 2x and -2x. I don't know, 6y and -6y. Those would cancel each other out. Those are called the opposite coefficients, okay? So we actually have that already done for us. We don't need to do anything. Both of those are opposite. Step 3 says to solve or to add straight down. So we're going to do that. And step 4 says to solve. So I'm just checking off for this one as I go. So add straight down. All right, 2x plus 5x is 7x. -3y plus 3y cancels. Now, one of them has to cancel. If for some reason it didn't cancel, you did something wrong and you have to go back and make them opposite. Okay? Equals 12 plus 9 is 21. And then we solve for x. Divide by 7. X equals 3. Okay. So I just solved. Now it says substitute your answer into either of the original equations. All right, so let's substitute. So it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to choose the top equation. So I'm just going to say 2x minus 3y equals 12. And it says to substitute your answer back in. So my answer was x equals 3. So where I see x, I'm going to plug in 3, and I'm going to keep everything else the same. Now I solve for y. So 2 times 3 is 6. I need to get the y alone, so I'm going to subtract 6. And then divide by -3. So y equals -2. 6 divided by -3 is -2. Now my last step for number 6 says to write as a coordinate x comma y. So my answer here is x comma y, 3 comma -2. All right, I'm going to erase the check marks here, and I'm going to do this again. So step 1 says to line up the variables. X's, Y's, equal signs, everything's lined up. Good. Decide which variable to eliminate, to get rid of. Make sure the coefficients are opposite. Now again, here we had opposite coefficients. Here though, we don't. Look, we have a 3 and a 2. Those don't cancel. And the number in front of this y is a 1. So 1 and 5 doesn't cancel there. So if it doesn't cancel, we need to make them opposite, which means we need to multiply the entire top of the equation or bottom of the equation, or sometimes both. We need to multiply both sometimes in order to have the opposite sign and the opposite number. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, don't write this down, but pretend I wanted to get rid of the x's, right? If I multiplied the top by a 2 and the bottom by a 3, notice what happens. 2 times 3 is 6, right? 3 times 2 is 6. The only extra step I would need to do is make one of them negative, because a negative 6x and a positive 6x will cancel out. It doesn't matter what the other numbers are when we distribute this. We know for a fact that the x's are going to cancel. So we could multiply by a negative 2 and a 3. An easier way, and that's an option, an easier way is to just multiply the top. Since this is a 1, we're going to multiply the top by a 5, but we just have to make sure it's the opposite. Because watch what happens. Negative 5 times 1y is a negative 5y, which will cancel out with a positive 5y. And then we also give that negative 5 to everything else. So it's going to be negative 15x minus 5y equals negative 20. And then I'm going to write this the same. I didn't change anything on the bottom. I just need to make sure now that they cancel out. And they do. These are going to cancel. So I just did step 2. Now my step 3 says to add straight down, and my step 4 says to solve. So I'm going to add straight down. These will cancel. Negative 15x plus 2x is negative 13x. Negative 20 plus 7 is negative 13. So x equals negative 13 divided by negative 13 is a positive 1. Now my step 5 says to substitute my answer into either of the original equations. I'm going to do the top one. So I'm going to say 3x plus y, or 1y, equals 4. And I'm going to substitute 1. I just got 1 for x, right? So 3 times 1, and I'm going to keep everything else the same, plus y equals 4. Remember, I got 1 for x. Now here, 3 times 1 is 3. Get y alone by subtracting 3. So y equals 4 minus 3 is 1. So remember, my step 6 says write as an ordered pair, which just means x comma y, which is 1 comma 1. All right, and that is your final answer.